The 70s and 80s gave us some of the most daring, ambitious, and unforgettable films in cinema history. But not every masterpiece found its audience. Some were ignored, some mismarketed, some simply too strange for their time. Today, they're cult classics, films that shaped the medium, even if audiences walked away back then. These are 10 forgotten movie classics from the 70s and 80s that deserve to be rediscovered. The golden age of New Hollywood was built on risks. Directors were experimenting with genre, story, and style in ways the mainstream wasn't ready for. Box office numbers weren't always kind, but what remains is a treasure trove of cinema waiting to be unearthed. The Last Detail, 1973. Jack Nicholson was at the height of his powers when he starred in The Last Detail, a film about two Navy officers escorting a young sailor to prison. Directed by Hal Ashby, the film is raw, unpolished, and brutally honest about authority, wasted youth, and the system that breaks men down. Nicholson delivers one of his best performances, funny, furious, and heartbreaking. But audiences weren't ready for such a bleak take on military life. At the box office, it struggled. Today, critics hail it as one of the great anti-establishment films of the 70s, a gem hidden in plain sight. Barry Lyndon, 1975. Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon may be one of the most beautiful films ever shot. Using only natural light and candlelight, Kubrick recreated 18th century Europe with painterly perfection. But in 1975, audiences found it too slow, too cold, too meticulous. It bombed in America, even as it won Oscars for cinematography and design. Over time, though, the film has been re-evaluated. Today, it's seen as one of Kubrick's boldest achievements, influencing generations of filmmakers. What was once dismissed as boring is now considered hypnotic, timeless art. Rolling Thunder, 1977. Vietnam was still a raw wound in American culture when Paul Schrader and Haywood Gould wrote Rolling Thunder. William Devane stars as a traumatized veteran seeking revenge after a brutal attack. The film is violent, uncompromising, and filled with rage against a society that abandoned its soldiers. It shocked critics and turned off casual audiences. But over the years, it's been embraced as one of the great revenge thrillers. Quentin Tarantino even named his film company after it. What was once too brutal is now recognized as groundbreaking. The Wanderers, 1979. In the shadow of American graffiti and Greece, Philip Kaufman's The Wanderers told a grittier story of teen gangs in 1960s New York. Blending comedy, violence, and nostalgia, it painted adolescence as chaotic and dangerous, not dreamy and sweet. Audiences didn't know what to make of it. It wasn't a musical, it wasn't a straight drama, it was something in between. Box office returns were poor, but in later decades, it found its following, especially among those who grew up in that era. Today, it's a cult time capsule, both strange and unforgettable. Cutter's Way, 1981. Few films capture post-Vietnam disillusionment like Cutter's Way. John Hurd plays a bitter, disabled veteran who ropes his friend, played by Jeff Bridges, into investigating a local crime. What follows is part mystery, part character study, part howl of anger at corruption and the American dream gone sour. Too bleak for audiences in 1981, the movie quickly disappeared. But in hindsight, its mood and message resonate even stronger. It's a lost, neo-noir masterpiece, a film that deserves to stand alongside Chinatown and The Conversation. The King of Comedy, 1982. Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro are best known for Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, but The King of Comedy may be their most prophetic work. De Niro plays Rupert Pupkin, a delusional wannabe comedian obsessed with fame. Audiences didn't get it in 1982. It was too dark, too uncomfortable, and the box office tanked. But today, the film feels eerily modern, anticipating the age of reality TV, internet fame, and parasocial obsession. Once a flop, now a masterpiece, it's one of Scorsese's greatest films. Repo Man, 1984. No film defines cult cinema better than Repo Man. Alex Cox's punk rock sci-fi comedy follows a young Emilio Estevez as he gets caught up with repossession agents, UFO conspiracies, and anarchic satire. Released in 1984, it was way too weird for mainstream audiences. But over the years, it's become a beloved midnight movie, quoted, rewatched, and worshipped by fans who love its strange energy. Punk cinema at its finest. Angry, hilarious, and unlike anything else of its time. The Killing Fields, 1984. Some forgotten films aren't cult curiosities. They're devastating historical dramas. The Killing Fields tells the story of Cambodian journalist Dith Pran and the horrors of the Khmer Rouge. Roland Joffe's direction and the performances of Sam Waterston and Hein S. Nagore, who won an Oscar, made it a critical success. Yet, Despite awards, the film faded from mainstream memory. Too painful, too raw. Today, it remains essential viewing, an unflinching reminder of history that cinema should never allow us to forget. Mishima, A Life in Four Chapters, 1985. Paul Schrader's Mishima is unlike anything else. A stylized, surreal biography of Japanese author Yukio Mishima. It blends real events, dreamlike recreations, and the author's own novels into one hypnotic whole. Western audiences didn't know what to make of it, and in Japan it was controversial. It vanished from theaters. But filmmakers and critics later praised it as one of the most visually striking films of the 80s, with Philip Glass's unforgettable score. Too radical for its time, it's now considered a masterpiece. Withnail and I, 1987. Finally, a film that began as a flop and became one of the most quoted British comedies of all time. Withnail and I follows two out-of-work actors spending a disastrous holiday in the countryside. Funny, tragic, and painfully real. It captured the despair of a generation. Nobody went to see it in 1987, but word of mouth kept it alive. And today, it's a cult institution in Britain, beloved by everyone from students to veteran cinephiles. A forgotten film that grew into legend. These films may have failed when they first hit theaters, but time has a way of revealing true greatness. They're proof that cinema doesn't have to succeed immediately to matter. Sometimes, the most daring works are misunderstood in their own time, only to inspire decades later. Which of these films have you seen? And which forgotten classics should I cover next? Drop your favorites in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more hidden gems from the golden age of cinema.